I think one of the unfortunate things in today's society is that not everyone gets that opportunity to have a mentor or to have idols where you can see what 5 years of dedication can do for your life. Because I saw it, I experienced it, and now I'll never forget it. I love the idea of being an intellectual. I love the idea of coming home from work every day and my partner asking me, what did you do today? How was your day? When I think about how I want to design my life, I think about how I want to answer that question. I quickly realized that, while joining a startup was phenomenally exciting and it was going to teach me everything I needed to know about being a founder, they're also super chaotic and no one has any time for you. So it's a really hard internship environment. Like, no one was actually guiding me. The shadow the CEO thing, it was like, you need to come here and figure out what problems you're going to solve and go do it. Why are we doing something for customers that they could probably do themselves? And I went and looked out on the App Store to see if there were solutions out there, and lo and behold, there were none. And I just thought, like, as this green 21-year-old, like, holy shit, this could be my thing. Like, this is the moment.
I heard the jackpot. Customers are humans. So if you're an e-commerce business, your customers go on your website, go on your app, they place an order. And guess what? More often than not, they will make some mistakes in that order. After they've checked out, what if they want to go and change that order? They have to call customer service, wait on the IVR, and this leads to bad customer experience. And that's where order editing comes into play. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of the Be Your Own Boss podcast. And this episode of the Be Your Own Boss podcast is sponsored by Ad Hoc Gulf, systems that your business cannot live without. In this episode, guys, we're going to meet a young entrepreneur from New Zealand. He's 23 years old and he is already on an incredible journey. He's been named Forbes 30 under 30 Australia, and just in the last 1.5 years, just in last 18 months, he has built a company from 0 to $1.5 million. Let's hear from him. Ladies and gentlemen, Hamish McKay, the founder of Order Editing. Hamish, welcome to the Be Your Own Boss podcast.
It's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
So, Hamish, can you just before we start, the regular conversation that we always do on the Be Your Own Boss podcast, can you just give us a quick introduction of who you are and what your journey is? Why should someone watch this podcast until the end?
Yeah, it's nice to meet everyone who's listening. I'm Hamish McKay. I'm the 23-year-old co-founder and CEO of a Shopify app called orderediting.com. And we let customers make changes to their orders after purchase. And shockingly enough, we were the first people to ever build this type of technology for online checkouts. In the last 18 months, we've bootstrapped the business from 0 to $1.5 million of annual recurring revenue. We do about 30% profit margins. It's a fantastic company. And that landed us in Forbes 30 under 30, both last year and this year as well. And we work with incredible clients, like your global brands, like your Opolis, your Hexclads, your Aviator Nations, your Represent.coms. We work with the largest fashion brands in the world to solve this problem for them and ultimately be building a great business for both us and the team that we've hired.
Fantastic, man. This is incredible. You've touched upon a point that is really a pain point for all of us as individual customers as well, right? It is a pain point for the e-commerce business as well, but for the customers as well. But let's start this journey right from the beginning. If you could just tell us about your parents, your siblings, where were you born? Let's start from there.
Yes, I was born in Auckland, New Zealand. It's New Zealand's largest city, but in saying that, there's only a population of about 1 million people. And I grew up in a lovely middle class family. I absolutely adore my parents. My dad is a lawyer and a fantastic one at that, and inspiring intellectual for me. I love like the way that his brain works and his intelligence, and I look up to him a lot as a father figure. And my mother did a lot of work in not-for-profits, leading different not-for-profits, and then transitioned that journey into actually being an author, which is massively inspiring for me as well. I love writing, and I'd like to have a career in writing in the future when we close out perhaps the software founder journey. And so she published a historical nonfiction called The Telling Time a few years ago, and has been writing stories ever since. Um,
Wow.
yeah, that's my family.
So growing up as a child, did you have this aspiration of, becoming an entrepreneur one day?
I mean, I feel like I only, growing up, I was always like a naturally adept kid at a few different things. Like my sport and my education were always really solid, and I definitely attribute that to the genes that I inherited from my parents. I really started having like big goals and aspirations to partner with that when I was in high school. I remember like very visibly when I was about 15 or 16, I started rowing in high school, and rowing is a really popular sport in New Zealand. We're one of the best countries in the world at rowing. It's a very clear pathway to like getting to the Olympics and things like that. And I was a very intense rower, to the point where my dream was to be an Olympic athlete, to go to the Olympics and represent my country in rowing. I'd train 12 or 13 times a week as a 16-year-old kid. I completely cut out like fizzy drinks and bad food. I made sure I got my sleep. I ate healthy. I tracked calories. I drank 4 liters of water every day. Like I was an intense kid in high school, trying to
Mm.
build this rowing career from a very early age. And that saw me getting offered scholarships into US colleges and things like that. But interestingly enough, as soon as I started university, I started falling in love with my education and with business. And there were a few different reasons for that, but ultimately I decided to leave rowing behind and put that away, and think differently about what I want from my life for the next 5 years. Um, and there are some layers to that onion, but one of the major factors for that was I've got two older brothers. I'm the youngest of three, and my eldest brother actually became wildly successful on YouTube. He quickly rose to fame as a famous YouTuber in his early 20s. He's got 5 million subscribers on his main YouTube channel today. Like he
Wow.
totally blew up. And I remember watching that as an 18-year-old and seeing what success could afford you in your early 20s, and how you could achieve really outsized wins as a young adult, and then effectively set up the rest of your life and make the next 30 years or 40 years of your life as you lead through to retirement a lot easier and a lot less stressful. And I remember seeing that and thinking, actually, I'm going to reframe my goals. I no longer want to represent my country in this sport. I'm actually really enjoying my university studies and learning about business. And I want to be in a situation where I could be close to financially free by the time I'm 25. And my vehicle, like a wildly ambitious goal I have as a 20-year-old, that's my 5-year goal. And I knew that the vehicle that was going to happen with was going to be through starting a company. I remember writing in my journal, like, I'm going to have $1 million when I'm 25. That was the arbitrary number. And I thought, how might I reasonably get to that objective? And, crypto was written down, but I didn't really think that was for me. Certainly not to that level. And business quickly followed. And
Mm.
I just latched onto that idea. And for the past 3 years or 4 years almost now, every single day I wake up and I think about that goal. And every single day I collect receipts or do actions that guarantee I will hit that goal. And that's how we've gotten to where we are today.
Wow. You know what? There is something here about like manifestation, goal setting. Looks like you've set a goal for yourself, and you're focused on that. You work on it every day. Tell us a bit more about that. Like let's kind of double click on that part here, and the mindset behind that goal setting.
I don't know where it came from, but it's something that I'd done naturally as a child. Rowing is like my strongest example because it was the first time I found success at something, like outsized success, where I was on a top percentile at something that I did. And very naturally, when I was rowing, I thought in 4 years, I'm going to be graduating from high school, and a certain small bucket of people get selected to represent New Zealand at junior world championships, and they go to Japan and they race other countries as like 19-year-olds or 18-year-olds. And that was my goal. And I thought, okay, what would I reasonably need to do to make sure that that happens, that I get to represent my country on the world stage? And it's quite simple. Like when you break it down like that, like what actions can I take to guarantee that happens? And for me, it was, well, I'm going to eat healthier than everyone else. I'm going to sleep more than everyone else. And I'm going to train harder than everyone else. And I'm going to cross my fingers and toes that that's enough to get there. Because what more could I do? Like that's literally the best that I could possibly do. And so I trained intensely and I saw the fruits of that. I actually didn't get to go to Junior World Champs, another story. But I remember coming back into my final season of rowing, and the very first race of the season, after I'd just done like 12 months of intensive training, we won by like 10 seconds. We just absolutely cleaned out all of these other high school collegiate rowers. And I remember them coming up to me after and saying, "What did you do over the winter to do that? Because you weren't that fast last year." I said, "Well, I trained my ass off. I was making sure that I'm going to hit my goal." And I guess I took that experience and naturally applied it again to this more like professional career path that I've been on, or this more professional journey for me. And, when I was at university, when I was studying in college, I remember like visibly, this is like the trigger point for me. I read an article by a woman named Lynn Alden. She's like a financial reporter or something down that vein. And it was about how to be financially free and retire early, a concept called FIRE, which is quite well known on the internet in circles. And it essentially just broke down in completely plain English for my underdeveloped, stupid 19, 20-year-old brain, how if I could invest, $2 million in the stock market, I could pay myself $60,000 a year and never run out of money for the rest of my life. Financially free. So you wouldn't necessarily need to work if your expenses were at that rate. And it really stuck with me. And the reason why it stuck was there was a chart below it that said, okay, how do you get to $2 million? And how long might that take? And I saw that if you invested $2,500 a month, you'd have $2 million in 25 years and you could retire. Not quite, but you get the point. And I thought, well, I'm 20 now. If I start today, I could retire when I'm 45. My dad's 60 and he's still working. That's 15 years ahead of people. And I love the idea of getting ahead of people. It's something that I've always obsessed over.
Yeah, comes from the rowing.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. The view's a lot better when you're out in front. Otherwise, you gotta stare at the backs of people's heads. And that stuck with me. And I guess I ambitiously took that because I saw I had a mentor, right? I had my brother, I had a model. I saw that you didn't need 25 years. You could actually do it sooner if you did something outside, if you were a top percentile person. And I thought, well, you can't change much in a year, especially when you're a university student, but you can get a lot done in 5 years. And I knew you could get a lot done in 5 years because of my rowing experience. Like I know what 5 years of dedication can do for your life.
Yeah.
It's an experience that I've had. And now that I've had that experience, I'll never forget it. And because it's so rewarding. And I think one of the challenges, like I was very fortunate with these experiences. I'm very fortunate to have my brother. I was very fortunate to have the circles that I've been around with that effectively inspired that confidence. I think one of the unfortunate things in today's society is that not everyone gets that opportunity to have a mentor or to have idols where you can see what 5 years of dedication can do for your life. Because I saw it, I experienced it, and now I'll never forget it. I'll always put in my 5 years because you can change your life in 5 years. And that's a journey that I'm still on today. We haven't won yet, but we're on our way.
Yeah. That's like the part of the mentor and having an idol in front of you, like someone who you can look up to. Your looks like you become that now, right? For others, you do that. You're these 5 years and you achieve your success, and then that'll make you the role model for others then. As well. And I think this podcast plays a role in that as well, like when you're explaining your journey now. Let's continue the story then. So you were you had the idea of starting a business, and then?
Well, that's an interesting point to touch on. One of my childhood dreams alongside rowing was to be a university professor. I thought, like, I love the idea of being an intellectual. I love the idea of coming home from work every day and my partner asking me, I don't have a partner yet, but hopefully in future, saying, what did you do today? How was your day? And I think when I think about how I want to design my life, I think about how I want to answer that question. And that's like my next 5-year goal is, what do I want that answer to be and how can I make sure that happens? And today and for a long time, I've always said, when I'm in my late 20s, I want to come home and answer that question and say, I hung out with the smartest 20-year-olds in the world today. And I taught them something. And that may be in a university hall, it may be on the internet, it may be in a small circle, it may be in a VC company that I start, it may be in any type of environment where that is the defining factor of how I spent my day. And one of the interesting things about our company is that I love my job, I love what I'm doing, but me and my co-founder intentionally set an expiration date on our business because for me personally and for him as well, auto editing is an incredible financial vehicle to help us realize our dream careers after it. Those careers that maybe you couldn't pursue or wouldn't pursue because they're not financially viable for the type of life you want to live, like being a university lecturer, for example. I probably want to live a slightly more abundant lifestyle than that would afford me. And so when we started this company and when I thought about it when I was 20, it was like, I'm going to get financially free by the time I'm 25 so that for the rest of my life, whenever I'm at a crossroads, particularly in how I spend my day, what would I do with my life? If the financial outcomes are different, I don't want to give a shit. I don't want to care about that anymore. I want to make sure that every single time I make a decision, it's for what's best for my body and my mind and my soul, not my pockets, because I believe in a concept of having enough. And I know what enough is for me, and I want to get enough and then go pursue this dream. And I remember telling this to a mentor a couple of years back or a year ago when we first started our business, and he said, like, I love this approach that you've taken. I love how clear the vision is, how much clarity you have and what you're doing and why. But you shouldn't wait to go pursue those goals. Like you can teach right now. You can teach while you build your business. You can take an hour every week and do something, and that's something that I've done, and that's why I do podcasts like this. It's why I speak to accelerators that work with university students or young people starting their businesses. I do guest lecture sessions. I teach at different universities, like whenever someone offers a speaking slot, and it fills my cup. It only affirms that I know what my dream is long term, and I'm pursuing it.
Yeah. Wow, that's incredible. Looks like your vision is that you want to reach a point where you don't want to work for money. You want your money to work for you, and then you work to fulfill your purpose.
Exactly. The way that we've built our business, the way that we've done our marketing has been by building in public on LinkedIn and sharing our story online. I post every single day what's happening and how it feels and what I've learned and why I think I'm here and things like that. And for a long time, my headline, my banner on LinkedIn was I'm a 23-year-old founder and I'm building a $20 million business. And that was like the exact number that if we got offered that in an acquisition, we would not hesitate. We would say yes. Like that is what my co-founder and I class as enough, and it delivers a fantastic outcome to our employees who all hold equity, and a fantastic outcome to us, and ultimately makes us financially free. And that's why we do what we do.
Yeah. Wow. Let's talk about the business itself, right? So how did the idea come about of order editing? Let's start from there first.
Yeah. So my first real, I shouldn't say real job, but my first office job or white collar job was a summer internship in my final year of university. And I was living in New Zealand and I got offered this job in Australia where a company filled with 25-year-olds were doing about $40 million a year on Shopify. It's like 15 employees, all in their 20s, doing $40 million a year of revenue. And they were designing and manufacturing and building e-commerce stores for YouTubers. Like we were the company that built Mr. Beast's merchandise store, that built his product, designed his clothing, and sold it to kids on the internet. That was like us. We were the back of house for his front of house operation. And I got an internship there to shadow the CEO. through the connection with my brother. And I started there, and it was December 2022, or December 2021 rather. And I quickly realized that, while joining a startup was phenomenally exciting, and it was going to teach me everything I needed to know about being a founder, they're also super chaotic, and no one has any time for you. So it's a really hard internship environment. Like, no one was actually guiding me. The shadow the CEO thing, it was like, you need to come here and figure out what problems you're going to solve and go do it. And so I was just thrown in this deep end of like having both a lot of responsibility of how I spent my day and also very little responsibility because nothing was given to me. I wasn't afforded anything. But it was this beautiful moment where, I just started doing customer service tickets because there's always work to do in customer service. And in doing that, I realized that we actually had a serious customer service issue. Like, we were representing these global YouTubers and like taking care of their fan bases, which is really sensitive. And we were not doing them justice. They weren't receiving responses for like 30 days. We didn't really have a manager internally. It was a really bad customer service department. And I was 21. And every single day I said to my boss, hey, like, there's a serious issue here, and here's how I want to solve it. Make me the manager. I'm going to spend like $5,000 hiring XYZ uni students that I knew in my network. We're going to pay them this, and we're going to blast through all of our customer service tickets. And at the end of it, I'll build like a formalized team that will work ongoing and make sure this doesn't happen again. And I got the opportunity. He said, yep, like, you do this thing. Like, I don't want to think about it. Just solve it for me. Like, do the right thing. And I was 21, and I suddenly had a team of 10 people, and I was interviewing people and hiring them and negotiating salary, firing people sometimes. Like, it was a crazy experience as a kid. I was reading business books to try and learn like what to do because I don't know what to do. I'd never managed anyone in my life. And here I was, like, I was in control of like 30, 35-year-old employees, and they were 15 years my senior. They're probably like, who is this kid? Who does he think he is? But I did a fantastic job there. I genuinely am proud of the effort that I put in there and how I learned and grew. And the catalyst for our company started there too. I was doing one-to-ones with all of our team members because I was trying to learn how to be a manager fortnightly. And one week I just decided to ask everyone, what do you spend the most amount of your day doing? And 10 out of 10 people said in that one-to-one meeting, the majority of my day is spent editing orders, changing a customer's address or changing their size because they made a mistake at checkout and they auto-filled their ex-girlfriend's house, or they sent it to their workplace and they needed to get it directed to their house. And I just had a light bulb moment, right? I spent all of my day absorbing information about business and entrepreneurship because I wanted to be a founder in the future. So I was just reading like crazy. It's all I thought about. I was all consumed by this like dream. And I was also so green to the industry. Like, I had no preconceptions. And when I heard that, I just thought, that's stupid. Like, why are we doing something for customers that they could probably do themselves? And I went and looked out on the App Store to see if there were solutions out there. And lo and behold, there were none. And
Wow.
I just thought, like, as this green 21-year-old, like, holy shit, this could be my thing. Like, this is the
Yeah,
moment.
I heard the jackpot.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
I found, I reached out to some people and pitched the product, pitched the idea, and got connected to a software developer who could ultimately build it for us. And the rest was, the story unfolds from there.
Mm. So you work with the software developers to build a system that will allow customers to edit their orders on their own.
That's right.
But then, so the customers have to you have to give it to the customers, right? Or am I not understanding it properly? Like, you have to take your product or your app, or is it an app, or what is it?
So, like, put yourself in the customer's shoes and
Mm.
think, like, I'm buying something on the internet, and immediately when you click pay now, you realize you made a mistake. And think about what you want, like what the dream experience would be there. And that's what we built. Where as soon as you click pay now, the very first thing you see is thank you for your order, edit shipping address, add another product, change your size or color, download an invoice, update your gift message, apply the discount code you forgot, cancel your order. Like, we just list out options on the very first page you see after you buy, and it's embedded into Shopify is the platform that we hosted on. We're built for Shopify, and it's just embedded in that page. And so the very first thing you see after you make a mistake is, oh my God, I can just click a button and fix it.
Yeah.
And so there's no external app or external web page. It's like just hosted on the storefront as
Okay.
a block on their post-purchase pages.
So it's integrated into the e-commerce businesses side. So as a business, your customer are the e-commerce businesses, right?
That's right.
Or
So we have like we have 1,500 users total, about 300 major retailers. And those are our direct customers, but we service, like, someone edits their order almost every second of the day. Like we're servicing, hundreds of thousands of people as
yeah.
end users.
Wow. And once you started working on this, what was that journey like? You have an idea now. Did you decide to quit your job? What was the walk us through that process? What did you
I
do?
was an ambitious kid, but I definitely wasn't confident enough or bullish enough or even like well versed enough about how VC and how companies started to do something like that. I took the idea. I met my co-founder. He lives in Canada. We work remotely. Like I hadn't met him until we were doing about $500,000 a year of revenue, which is another crazy story. And we started working on this product together, just online over Discord and Twitter. And the beautiful thing was I worked for an e-commerce company. So when he built it, we used it. We were the first users. We dog fooded our own product, so to speak. And so Mr. Beast was like our first customer. And so we used it for a year and just kept it like hidden, and no one really knew about it. We didn't talk about it. It was just like our own IP. And then when that year concluded, it was time to move jobs. That company was closing down. And that was a really interesting time because I was 22 and we had a product. I knew it worked. I knew it was very valuable. It saved that company that I worked for about $80,000 that year. And I had a co-founder. And we could have gone out to market then and started the company, but there were a few key issues. One, I'd never sold software in my life, and I wasn't super involved. Like I wasn't ready, in my opinion. I wasn't ready to start a company. And then there's another key problem that I didn't have enough money to start a company. Like if I went unemployed for 2 months, I'd be broke. I'd be moving back in with my parents. I'd be asking for money. Like it just wouldn't have worked financially. I needed an income. And so my co-founder and I actually made the decision to just wait. We wanted to own 100% of the equity. We didn't want to raise funding. And honestly, we were happy to keep developing the product further and get it ready for like a really solid public launch. And so I found a new job where I learned how to sell software. I pivoted to a new startup, found a fantastic founding team, and found fantastic mentors within there that grew me from what was a very green customer service kid into like a salesperson that I like to think was pretty dominant. I joined this company and we were selling $65,000 software packages in the boardroom to publicly listed companies. I'd go in and I'd shake hands with the chair of like a multi-billion-dollar business and then pitch him to buy our product and close the deal. And that was my experience, for the 12 months following as a 22-year-old. And I just grew like crazy there. And I'm so glad I had that experience because ultimately when we then went out to market and at the end of 2023, we went out to market, I was ready and the product was ready. And that's how we got to $1 million in 12 months. And that's how we, nearly doubled the business in another 6 months. Like all of those things happened from that experience.
This is something that I always tell all the kids that I speak to, that you have to work in sales for some time at least to get that experience. You worked in sales for a year and you sold exactly like software, right? That's what you wanted to sell anyways in the future. So you wanted to, was that a conscious decision to go and find a sales job selling software, or was that like by chance?
Very. I mean, like one of the big pieces of advice that I give to students when I lecture at schools is when you do go out and start pursuing your career, don't just aimlessly go for any single job or like aimlessly go into job interviews. And when they ask what you're looking for, to say like, oh, like a great place to work and I want to get developed and like boring. Like you're not talking like an A player. What I did and what everyone should do when they go transition through different career paths or start their first career is think about what they actually need from this workplace. And for me, I wanted to start a business in the future. I had no sales experience and I was going to be the salesperson. And I'm still so green, like I really need mentorship. And so when I jumped on that job interview and when I looked for roles in the market and cold emailed people for positions, I said, like, this is who I am. This is what I've done. I'm exclusively looking for work within a startup. Has to be less than 20 people. Because I need to work in startups. Like, I'm building a startup. That's what I need. I have to have a close relationship with the founder. Like, there needs to be some availability for mentorship sessions there. It's very important to me. And I need to learn how to sell. I need a sales leader who's going to teach me how to sell, and I want to do a sales role. And it was amazing, both because it meant that I was dialed in on what opportunity I wanted, and I got the dream opportunity. Everything that I needed was in that role. And also for the interviewers, they were like, no 22-year-old's ever spoken to me like this before. Like, what is wrong with you? And the funny thing is, like, it's not a crazy thing to think about or ask for. It doesn't require any bounty of intelligence. It just requires clarity on what would be really helpful for you at this time of your life. And I think that can seem like a scary question to answer if you don't know what you want to do in the future. But even that in itself is an answer. If you don't know what you want to do in the future, then maybe you need a role that specifically like opens you up to various departments and different functions, and you want to be a generalist. Like, there are still
or it helps you, something that helps you figure out what you want to do, right? Like,
exactly.
that can be an answer as well.
Exactly.
I'm not clear right now. I'm 22, but I want to figure out what I want to do. So this is my aim, right? But you're right. Like, it's not rocket science, but it's clarity, right?
Clarity.
Yeah, it's that is very, very important. And people often, when interviewers, when they're going through resumes, they find it difficult to have that clarity in the youngsters. And that's why they were probably surprised when they saw that 22-year-old being so clear about what he wants. It's a very good example of how you position yourself to specifically ask what you want, right?
And it's funny. It's like what you just said there reminded me of how much of a two-way street it is. Because, like, if you're applying for jobs, the jobs that are most attractive to you as a prospective employee are the ones where they're really clear on what you're going to do. Like, it's a lot more exciting and compelling to work for a company that's super bulletproof clear on what you're going to be doing and how you're going to be measured. Like, that's attractive compared to something gray where they kind of don't know and they seem confused.
Yeah.
And the same goes vice versa, right? Like, employers want to employ people who are super clear on like what they want to do, because then they know you're going to be a fit, like a culture fit. And like, equally, I think about it from a founding perspective, because we're hiring people and we're always recruiting. One of the reasons why, we've been able to recruit really fantastic talent so early in our journey is because we're really clear on what our goals and ambitions are. And it's a self-selection process where the people that understand our company and see us hiring think, do I want to go work for a business that's building for an acquisition early in their journey? And some people say yes to that, some people say no. And it's good for us that people who say no don't apply, because they know they're not a fit already. They self-select out. And that's what you want.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that clarity has to be there from both sides, the job seeker and the recruiter as well. Like, so they need to know, as a recruiter, you need to know what you want really from the employee.
When you think about how you develop, you develop at a certain rate under fantastic mentors and in fantastic environments. You develop also at a certain rate when you're on your own and you're ultimately responsible. I post every day on LinkedIn. People, and I connect with all of our ICP. Like, I connect with people daily, and I know that in a couple of weeks they'll start seeing our content, and then if they see our content for a couple of months, they book a meeting. Everyone knows what goes on our heads. Everyone knows what we're building for, why we're building for it, what that means for them. They all have equity allocations and they know what their outcomes will be, and also how those could grow if they get promoted and raises and things like that. Everyone who works here gets something more out of the business than just financial upside.